It started just as a normal Friday. I started by eating breakfast, and afterwards, I went to school. I never liked Fridays. Okay, it's where the weekend begins, but it is also my longest day at school. At least, it feels like it. When I got to school, I suddenly felt a bad feeling. I forgot to do my homework for physics. I've always hated my physics teacher, and I was sure he was going to punish me. Although, not in the way normal teachers would. My physics teacher always liked to come up with his own punishments. Mostly writing down thousands of lines or having to stay at school and clean up the class. Physics was my first lesson this day, so I didn't have any time anymore to do the homework, so I hoped for the best. When I entered the class, the teacher started with his daily sermon. If anyone thinks he is allowed to talk in class, you're going to have a bad time. If you didn't do your homework, you can leave now. I don't want you in class then. I didn't leave. The reason that I didn't leave is because a mail would be sent to your parents then, saying you've been sent out of class. My parents would be pissed. I would rather write down, I will do my homework from now on 1,000 times, than getting sent out of class. Next, he said, I'm going to check your homework now. Please lay it on your table so I can see it. He started with checking the homework of the people on my left. I was in the middle of the classroom, so he would be here in about 30 seconds. I didn't want to have to tell him I didn't do anything, so I quickly started to fill in some wrong answers, hoping he wouldn't check the content of my work. When he came, he looked into my book. He should have seen there was something filled in for the exercises now, so I hoped that he would walk away quickly. Sadly for me, he didn't, and he told me, I saw you just wrote down this shit. You know I hate it when students don't make their homework right. And as you didn't tell me in the beginning of class, I will come up with a great punishment myself. I'll see you at 4 p.m. in this classroom. Great, my afternoon is ruined, and afterwards, I would have to explain to my parents why I'm this late at home. God, I hate my life. At 4 p.m. I went to his classroom about to be punished. When I entered his classroom, I saw he wasn't there already, although his briefcase seemed to still be on his desk. In my curiousness, I quickly checked the contents of the briefcase. I hoped to find some illegal stuff, like weapons or weed, so I could tell the headmaster and go home now. Although, all I found was some physics books, some pens, some markers and some papers. Right that moment, my physics teacher came in shouting at me, What do you think you're doing? Trying to steal my stuff? I told him I was just searching for a pen to write something down, and that I was terribly sorry I searched his briefcase, but I don't believe it sounded very convincing. He said, I was going to let you clean up this classroom so you could go home about 5 p.m, but now I will let you clean up the classroom next door too. Now I will let you work till that at least 6 p.m. I wanted to curse right into his face, but I knew that this was definitely not the time to do that. I just said, yes sir, took a cloth and started cleaning up the classroom. The teacher left with his briefcase. I knew my teacher had access to the school security cameras, so I wasn't able to just stop working for a while. Although, he couldn't let me work longer till 6 p.m, because the school closed at that time. I worked for what seemed like ages. When the clock showed 6 p.m, I didn't stop working. I just kept cleaning up stuff, as I knew he would be mad if he came in and see me do anything else than working. I am the one that chooses when you are done, not you, he would say. It became 6:30 p.m. I just kept looking at the clock, but the teacher just wasn't coming. The school should even be closed by now. I decided to search for him. I first went to the staff room. Nobody there. Then, I just decided to go. The teacher must have forgotten about me. I went back to the classroom, grabbed my bag, and went to the front door of the school. It was locked. I kind of started to panic. The school closed at 6 p.m. Everyone had gone already. I checked some other doors and also some emergency exits. All locked. I was getting hungry and wanted to go home. As fast as possible. All I wanted was to escape this school. I first tried the school's telephone. The power of the whole school seemed to be down. Phones weren't working and light switches wouldn't turn on. I didn't have my mobile phone with me because it was raining outside. I never took my mobile phone with me when it was raining, because I was afraid that the rain would damage my phone in my pocket while I was cycling. One last way to escape came to my mind. I could open a window on the ground floor and leave the school that way. I checked all the classrooms and other rooms on the ground floor of the building, but all the windows seemed to be locked with a lock. I didn't even know the windows had locks. Never seen them. In a last effort of despair, I searched the staff room for any keys, but I couldn't find any. By the time I had tried all the ways to escape the building, it was already 8 p.m. I hadn't even eaten anything yet, so I decided to take anything out of the vending machines. I still had some money in my bag. I spent half of it for supper: crisps, cookies, and candy. There wasn't much more in the vending machine. As I didn't want to waste money on a drink, I used the coffee machine in the staff room. For that night, I chose to wait. I knew that the teacher would find out he had forgotten something, and if not, my parents would call the police that I haven't been coming home. The police would find out that I had gotten this punishment, and afterwards, the police would call my physics teacher, and then he will remember. As I didn't seem to be able to get some sleep in my current state, I just started to wander around the school searching for interesting stuff, like a flashlight or maybe even some food. I couldn't find anything like that. I also searched the school for doors I never went through. Now was the time to check it out. After a while, I found a door on the ground floor that I had never really seen before. I swear it was never there. Although I couldn't be sure because this was part of the school I almost never came. I entered the door to discover that it was leading to the basement. I didn't know the school had a basement. It could be the place where they hid the exams, and that's why I never knew about this door. We weren't allowed to know. As I was in the last year of school, I was pretty curious about this exam idea, so I decided to check it out. The basement was very dark, and as I didn't have any flashlight, I couldn't see anything. I thought of an experiment we once did in physics. It was about solar panels. We used a flashlight with that. I ran to the storage room next to the classroom I had been cleaning up. All the things that we used with both physics and chemistry were stored there. I searched the stuff and found the flashlight. I pressed on the button to find out it had worked. Finally, my first source of light this night. I went down again into the basement and turned my flashlight on. I looked around. It just seemed to be the janitor's room. There were some brooms and other cleaning things. Nothing special. Then I looked at the paintings on the wall. There were black and white pictures of our school. Very old pictures. The school building is more than 200 years old. It was a hospital before, and it has been restored before it became a school. There were some paintings of the hospital floors, with the beds and stuff. There were also some floor maps, 3 in total, one of the ground floor. These floor mats seemed to be from the time the building was still a hospital, seeing the names of the rooms. Although the floor map of the ground floor seemed to be quite accurate with how the school looked now. The rooms had names like room 101, 201, or surgery room 1. I never expected the dark classroom to be a former surgery room, but in fact, I didn't even care. The second map was a map of the first floor. Also, this one was very accurate with how this floor looked now. All the classrooms were rooms patients used to sleep in. The last map was a map of the basement. Although it was very big, just as big as the other floors of the school. The room in the basement I was in now was definitely not the only room. The school seemed to have a lot of tunnels and rooms underneath it. One big tunnel was leading outside of the map, called Emergency Exit. The rooms on this map were definitely not rooms patients used to stay in. One room was called Deceased Storage. This was some freaky shit. Although, I was also very curious now. I had to know if these tunnels and rooms were still here. I began feeling very tired, so I took the maps with me and searched for a place in the school I would be able to rest. I remembered that there were some nice sofas to sleep on the first floor, next to the computer square. I went there, used some of the cushions as a blanket, and fell asleep. I fell asleep quickly because it was 2 a.m. already when I went to sleep. I slept till about 9 a.m. I first had to eat. I went to the vending machine again and took a Snickers, some cookies, and a cup of coffee again. Afterwards, as I didn't have anything better to do, I went to the basement again. I took the third map, the map of the basement, to check where I could be. I found the room where I was, as it was somewhere in the middle of the map. The reason I was sure this was the room I was in is that this was the only room with a staircase. The map said that on my left should be a hallway to the safety room. I wondered why a hospital had such a room, because of some crazy patient? The thought of that made me laugh. I checked my left to see a wall there. It was a simple wooden wall made of some planks. I saw that the nails were held this wall together were very rusty. They could break at any time. I went up the staircase to the ground floor to check if anyone was around. There wasn't. This was my chance. I knew I could get kicked out of school if I destroyed the wooden wall, but as the school got me in this situation I was in now, I didn't really care. I decided to remove the only bottom 3 planks, and then I would be able to crawl underneath it. I started to destroy the nails to be able to remove the first plank. The generated space was not enough to crawl underneath yet, but it was enough to see that there was definitely a hallway there. I thought, why didn't they use this space? Why did they just leave it like this? I started removing the other 2 planks. When I was done, I geared myself up with a flashlight and crawled underneath. Right at the moment I climbed in, I realised I was doing stuff I shouldn't have done. I had removed those planks so somebody could find out eventually. Although, I didn't mind to get kicked out of school anymore. All the school felt like right now was a dark place. Just before I started hesitating, my curiosity took over and I continued my way into the hallway. The hallway was entirely dark, so I needed my flashlight to be able to see anything. In the hallway, there were cobwebs everywhere. I hoped I wouldn't encounter any rats or mice. I took my map and chose to check out the safety room first. The safety room's door was like a huge vault door. If it was locked, I wouldn't be able to get in, but luckily for me, it was ajar. I opened the vault door further and looked inside. The room was filled with cobwebs. It was very cold there. I pointed my flashlight on the ground. I wish I never did that. There was a body on the ground. At least, what was left of it. I was just next to the vault door, so whoever was seemed to have died while trying to close the vault door to escape whatever was chasing this person. I screamed. I ran as fast as I could back to the janitor's room to get out of this basement as fast as possible. I was scared as hell. I had to get out of this building as soon as possible. Although this building was pretty big, I seemed to get panic attacks, probably caused by my claustrophobia. There was only one way left to get out of this building. I had to destroy a window. No one would have to find out. I took a heavy chair and threw it at the window. It bounced off the window, didn't even have a crack in it. I used a few more heavy objects and tried to destroy some other windows, but I couldn't get through them. What the hell is happening to this place? Now I wasn't just stuck in school. I also seemed to be stuck in a building with dead people in it. I felt I had to eat something, so I took a chair to see if the glass of the vending machine was just as strong as the windows in this building. It didn't seem to be, because the chair went straight through the glass. I messed it up. People would find out that I was in this school and that I had destroyed the vending machine. I did actually take some food, because I was very hungry. It was 4 p.m. I didn't want to go to the basement anymore, and I wasn't curious at all anymore. I went to the sofas on the first floor and decided to just chill. I took some food and my flashlight with me, as I was afraid of the dark now. I took my flashlight with me everywhere. I didn't want it to die out, so I took all the batteries of all the flashlights that the storage room had. This way, it became night. 2 nights to go, I thought. It was 8 p.m. and I already tried to sleep. I couldn't really sleep, so I was just lying there. Suddenly, I heard something. Footsteps. On the stairs to the first floor, I watched as this person entered the room I was in. It was a tall man, and his hand had an axe in it. The axe was red, and I was sure it was blood. It was very dark in the building already, so I couldn't see his face. At this point, I was scared as hell. Where did he come from? He came closer and closer, as if he was aware of my position. It was like he could smell me. I had to get away. When he was almost next to me, I decided to run. I ran as fast as I could towards the staircase to the ground floor. This man should have been coming through the front door, so I wanted to check that one first. The man chased me, making weird noises. I was about 200 feet away from him, but he seemed to be faster. When I reached the front door of the school, I checked if it was open. It wasn't. The man was right behind me. If I would run into a classroom now, I would be dead for sure. All I would do then was being stuck in a corner. I could run to the toilet and lock it, but I knew his axe would be able to smash through that door. There was only one option left: go to the safety room in the basement. I ran as fast as I could, with adrenaline pumping through my body. I raced the door towards the basement, went down the stairs, crawled underneath the planks again, and was in the hallway. I turned on my flashlight and looked behind me. The man was crawling underneath the planks, and this was the first time I could see his face. His face looked awful. His skin seemed to have fallen off, and blood was everywhere. His eyes seemed to be bulging. I ran as fast as I could into the safety room and tried to lock the door. I seemed to be standing on the corpse, but I didn't care right now. The vault door was heavy as hell. I used all my strength to close it, and I locked it by turning the inside lock. I was safe, although I wouldn't last forever as I had limited resources. My plan was to wait here in this cold, stinking room until Monday, and then come out. Running into the school should be full of students by then, so I would have nothing to fear. I had only one problem with this plan. I didn't have any indication of time. I knew there were about 35 hours to go, so I just had to stick to this plan and wait in a room together with a corpse. All I had with me was a flashlight, about 20 batteries, some candy, cookies, and the maps. As there wasn't any light source in the room I was in now, all the light I had was provided by my flashlight. I noticed that there was a bookshelf in this room. The bookshelf was filled with notes. Every notebook had a date on it. I took the notebook with the latest date. It was from 23rd of March 1949. As the school started in 1960, this could contain why the hospital stopped running in the first place. It seemed to be some kind of diary of some nurse. She wrote about her patients and her colleagues. It started pretty normal. She also described the illnesses of her patients. I flipped to the last page. The last page was mostly blank. All that was written on this page: things are getting pretty serious now. All incoming patients seem to have the same illness. They are all losing their skin. One of those patients freaked out and killed Margaret. He seemed to have made his own axe. It was Shane Wilford, 53 years old. We are scared that more people will take aggressive forms. I'll have to watch out to stay alive. That was all. I guess she didn't stay alive after all, as the book was never finished. There was a lot of weird stuff going on, paranormal stuff. If this man chasing me was this Shane Wilford, he would have been 118 by now. It could be, because you never know what a disease can do. I read some more of the notebook, but didn't read much more interesting. This last page seemed to summarise all the events of the time before this day. I took my maps again. I checked the map of the basement. I saw all the rooms, but their names didn't sound like logical places for me to go at this time. I just had to stick to my plan and try to sleep on this cold metal floor. It took a lot of time, but finally I fell asleep. When I woke up, I got hungry. I had half of the food I still had. I didn't have any drinks with me. I had to get it, to be able to survive. Maybe I would revive, but it would be a tough time. I decided to go out of the safety room and go up for some drinks from the vending machine. I would also get some more food, and then go back into the safety room again. I opened the door and checked around with my flashlight. Nobody. I went to the wall of the planks, crawled underneath it, and went up. I noticed that the door to the basement had been closed. I tried to open it, but it seemed to be locked. I pounded against the door. There was no way to get through. I ran to the safety room again and closed it off. I chose to think for a while, to be able to make a good decision where to go now. I took the map and chose to head for the emergency exit. As I could be free in about 30 minutes, I decided to eat all the food I had left to be strong for the run. I checked my route about 1,000 times on the map, so I would be sure I wouldn't go the wrong way. About 20 minutes later, I decided to go. I opened the vault door and ran. The hallway led me past the experimental room, past the dangerous chemicals room, and past the deceased storage. In my curiosity, I quickly looked inside. The room was full of people, and all of them had skin like it was ripped off their heads. I didn't know how many there were, but I think there were at least 10. I ran as they all started chasing me. The emergency exit tunnel was longer than I thought, and I had no idea where it would end. I ran, avoiding the stones in the ground. I didn't want to fall now. I saw the end of the tunnel with a trapdoor above it. I quickly grabbed the handle of the trapdoor as the sick people came towards me. I opened the trapdoor and saw the forest above me. It was the forest next to my school. As I walked through this forest every morning on my way to school, I knew the forest very well, and I knew my way home. As I tried to lift myself through the trapdoor into the forest, one of the sick people grabbed my leg. He dragged me back into the tunnel. All the sick people gathered around me, and then one of them hit me with a baseball bat in the head. Everything turned black. When I woke up, my head was pounding. I had a worse headache. I was lying on the ground, and above me I could see the open trapdoor. With all the strength that I still had, I lifted myself through the trapdoor and crawled home. When I came home, I opened my front door. I seemed to be able to stand up, so I did. I walked into the living room, where my mum was sitting on the couch. She looked at me and said, "Honey, where were you? I was so worried about you. If you go away for the weekend, please tell me next time." She stood up, walked towards me, and just before I could tell my story, I heard her scream. She screamed, "Son, why is your skin hanging off your face? And why your eyes seem to be bulging?" The next moment, I grabbed a knife and stabbed my mom. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below. All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or have any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.